ovens and bone fragments were found at a Mexican cartel extermination site.
Miguel Hernández Montejo, alias El H o Prada.
What is up, guys? Tyson De La Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Shout out to everybody watching. Drop your comments down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. BBC reported on this. Ovens and bone fragments were found in an extermination site from the Mexican cartel. The following tip-off about the possible location of the mass grave, an activist group of relatives of some Mexico's thousands of disappeared people went to the ranch hoping to find signs of their missing loved ones. This is absolutely sad. It's a horrible story. They found far worse. Listen to what they found. They found 200 pairs of shoes, hundreds of items of clothing, scores of suitcases, rucksacks discarded after owners themselves were apparently disposed of. Even more chilling, several ovens and human bone fragments were found at this particular ranch. For the Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, the events of Jalisco threatened to overshadow a strong start to her presidency, given the serious doubts of the actions of the local police and state authorities, general office. She's been ordered to have a federal investigation take charge of this. Listen to what Oscar Blue had to say about this.
Listen to this video of one of the most credible journalists in our country, Carlos Loret de Mola, actually puts video of the mother searchers, which they arrived to this place, and look at their opinions. This is the government of Mexico trying to cover up one of the worst crimes in possibly Mexican history of an extermination camp, horribly being done and horribly being covered by a narco government.
A massive drug bust at sea. 45,000 pounds of cocaine and 50 pounds of marijuana was intercepted by the U.S. Coast Guard in a major international operation. The U.S. stopped more than 14 different smuggling vessels off the coast of Mexico, Central and South America. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says the bust prevented nearly $500 million worth of drugs from reaching our streets.
Fewer families are going to be torn apart by addiction, that fewer lives are going to be lost to overdose.
Our message to these cartels is this: we own the sea, not you.
Officials say around 35 suspected drug traffickers were taken into custody during the operations. The Department of Homeland Security says these drugs will be destroyed, ensuring they don't harm Americans.
Border Patrol says it will achieve full operational control over the border and its preparation to take over regarding any face-to-face confrontation with cartels. This is what we voted for in the United States: Trump's Border Patrol against any and all Mexican drug cartels.
How many tunnels do you have in this border?
That's a top secret, my friend.
But a lot?
Yeah, I can tell you.
Are the organizations here afraid of what the Americans can do here?
Us as an organization, no. We are ready for that, you know. If DA want to come, CIA, whatever, it, you know, we are ready for that.
Do you expect things to heat up with Trump?
Yeah, for us, because it's gonna be more difficult to get people to El Paso, you know. But it doesn't matter. We have to look how can we afford that and Trump and well, we have to make money, you know. Let me tell you something. If you take care of your job and you do the right things, you're gonna have more job, you know.
So this is you get recommended.
Yeah, but if you start doing that, like kidnapping, disappearing people, and how can you get money, you know? Even if we know you're doing that in our own cartel, you know, we kill you. You can't do that.
So in your cartel, you cannot.
If I know you're doing that,
mistreat people.
If I know you're doing that, you're dead.
Obviously, with those numbers being so low, the chief is saying that the cartels are getting more desperate because they're not making their money. And the chief has a pretty stark warning for the criminal cartels, saying if and when they come face to face, Border Patrol won't be backing down. So in our exclusive interview with the Border Patrol Chief Mike Banks, he was telling us that the violence spilling over into the United States from the criminal cartels is very real. We've actually reported that agents have been alerted to the cartel having permission to actually fire at law enforcement in the United States. We've already seen 2 cross-border shootings since the border was essentially shut down under this administration. Now, we've also seen hundreds of drone incursions from the south side of the border. And the violent groups that have been designated as terrorist organizations, they're even using bomb-wielding drones against rival cartels. The chief says that is a concern, but they're ready to fight the enemy anywhere, and they actually have the capabilities to do it.
We do have the technology available to counter drones, and we are deploying more of that technology. And yes, you're right. We have seen, cartel on cartel violence that involves drones. We prepare and train to be ready to fight the enemy on any ground. We're impacting the cartel's ability to make billions of dollars, right? And so at what point do they decide that they're ready to push? I can tell you this. Border Patrol is some of the most highly trained, most professional law enforcement agency in the country, and we stand ready to defend the borders, and we're not going to hold back. We are not going to surrender. We will get this border. We will get operation and control of the United States border. Absolutely.
Now, this all comes as Border Patrol agents in Arizona arrested this guy. He's part of the Los Memos, which is a faction of the Sinaloa cartel. He admitted to working as a foot guide for the transnational criminal organizations, kind of like a coyote, if you will, leading illegal immigrants across the border and right into the United States. Chief Banks says that man is now facing felony charges for human smuggling. Now, Banks also says that they're adding more technology and more resources to counter the criminal cartels. The Trump administration wants that full operational control. Now, that means 0 crossings. And Chief Banks says right now that is their priority, and they'll keep their foot on the gas there, Nicole.
All right, so we know that there is more wall being built in the Rio Grande Valley sector. Did the chief talk about any other infrastructure being added?
Yeah, one of the things that they want to do to tamp down on those crossings, right, is more infrastructure. So, yes, they'll be seeing more wall, but we'll also be seeing more of that controversial buoy barrier. You'll remember that was put in along the Rio Grande in Shelby Park in the Eagle Pass area under Governor Greg Abbott. Now, that's something that Chief Banks was actually very instrumental in because he was Abbott's border czar back then. Banks says these buoys are going to be put throughout the Rio Grande, and that includes down in the Rio Grande Valley where that new wall is currently being constructed. Take a listen.
Real quick, not only are they smuggling humans across the border, and based on that particular article regarding the BBC, they're exterminating them as well. But up to 50% of U.S. weapons sent to Ukraine are being sold on the black market and ending up in guess whose hands? The Mexican drug cartel.
Buoy barriers will absolutely be a part of our technology and our infrastructure approach to securing the border. We're going to continue doing everything we can to impede the ability to cross illegally into the country, and then increase the probability of detection and apprehension if you do make it into the country.
Are even adding more technology and more resources to counter the cartels, Nicole. They say they want to get that full operational control, which means 0 crossings. Right now, we're averaging around 250 a day across the entire southern border. Nicole?
Yeah, so we know, Allie, that encounters have plummeted more than 95%, which is a huge number. But what about those who evade? Do we know how many people have gotten away?
Yeah, those are the gotaways, right? The people who have successfully evaded law enforcement. They might be wearing carpet on their shoes. They're the ones in the camouflage, hiding in the brush. Well, Chief Banks says they're averaging around 100 each day right now, which is still something that he says is too many. However, when you compare that to its peak in April of 2023, Banks said that they saw over 3,700 gotaways in a single day. So take a listen here to what he had to say about those individuals and what they're doing to find the ones that don't want to be found.
The resources DOD is bringing in is helping us with the detection, and then leading us to the location where the gotaways are trying, or the people are trying to get away, for the apprehension. We're not going to give up 10 yards on every play so that the bodies can get north. And so Border Patrol's focus is to control the international boundary to ensure no one's coming into the country, and those that do make it are apprehended and given a consequence. And so we're going to focus on operation control of the border.
They're also focusing on maritime efforts, too, because they believe that as they secure the southern border, the cartels are going to shift to moving people to the coastal regions. So the Navy and the Coast Guard, they're also there reinforcing the coastal sectors as well, Nicole, because they believe that will be the area that will be vulnerable because of the security here at the southern border right now.
As of February 1st, 2025, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth announced that the U.S. military can now perform special ops against Mexican cartel, following President Trump's designation of them as a terrorist organization.
Drug cartels have been declared terrorist organizations. And if you find that, and we know if there's Al Qaeda, we're going to hit them. I don't care if you're in Somalia, Sudan, or in Syria. If we find that they continue to fire at our border patrol and they continue to put fentanyl into our country, as the Secretary of Defense, are you permitted now to go after them in Mexico or wherever they are?
Brian, I don't want to get ahead of the president, and I won't. That's ultimately going to be his decision. But let me be clear, all options will be on the table. If we're dealing with what are designated to be foreign terrorist organizations who are specifically targeting Americans on our border, and we're finally securing our border. We've been securing other people's border for a very long time. The military is shifting toward an understanding of homeland defense on our sovereign territorial border. That is something we will do and do robustly.
Meanwhile, more search teams of victims' relatives have come to the state capitol in Guadalajara ahead of the protest in March this past weekend to urge authorities to do more to find more of the Mexican missing people. According to this article from the New York Post, Mexican cartel accused of housing a mass extermination site at their ranch denied any allegations as the country's general attorney called for an investigation over possible links between the gang and the local government to keep the site hidden for months. Alleged members of the Jalisco New Generation cartel released a series of new videos slamming grieving family members looking for traces of their missing loved ones that were once at this particular ranch.
An investigation is being ordered after Mexican authorities confirmed a private volunteer group's discovery of mass graves, hundreds of personal belongings, and secret crematoriums on a ranch in Jalisco State. President Claudia Sheinbaum announced Wednesday her administration's prosecutor's office will now investigate the matter. Jalisco's governor also vowed the Mexican National Search Commission will work with state and federal law enforcement to investigate the mass graves. The discovery was made last week by a nonprofit group known as Warrior Searchers of Jalisco, which attempts to locate missing persons. The group says they were alerted to an area by an anonymous tip. The collective initially searched the site before authorities took over. Warrior Searchers of Jalisco say human remains, 3 clandestine crematoriums, farewell letters, and shell casings were found at the ranch. State authorities later announced it found nearly 500 items, including clothing, backpacks, and more than 400 pairs of shoes. Mexican media dubbed the site an extermination camp and report it may be a recruitment center connected to the cartel Jalisco Nueva Generacion, which the Trump administration recently designated as a foreign terrorist organization. A member of Warrior Searchers of Jalisco says a woman who survived the camp told them up to 1,500 people may have died at the site, and organ trafficking took place there. In September of last year, the Mexican National Guard raided the complex and detained 10 people while rescuing a pair of kidnapping victims and finding a body. Authorities, however, took no further action at the site until now, with the collective's recent discovery, which has led to critics accusing local authorities of collusion with the criminal operation. Mexico's Attorney General says it's not credible. Local police missed the ovens and human remains during earlier searches. Sheinbaum agreed with the Attorney General's remarks after announcing her administration's probe. Jalisco is reportedly the Mexican state with the most missing persons, estimated at nearly 15,000 people.
15,000 people missing. This is crazy. This is crazy. And it seems like Miss Claudia Sheinbaum wants really nothing to do with the Mexican cartel. She kind of, I know them. This is just presumably, I know that presumably the Mexican cartel overruns some of the Mexican government. And it almost appears to me that she wants the United States and the Trump administration to handle them. Let me know your guys' thoughts. I might be incorrect on this, but let me know your guys' thoughts about this. This is a super sad story. I hope we can get to the bottom of this. Drop your comments about this and down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe. And as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.